Hi, this is Randy Rolfe from the Institute for Creative Solutions, sharing foundational concepts about vibrant health through natural living. And today I want to talk about what organic means when it's on a label on a package for your food. And last time I talked about whole foods, and today there have been so many questions and confusions about what organic means. And of course, originally it was just a word that meant something to do with life, and food that was grown organically didn't have a lot of man-made chemicals in it. But when it was used so profusely in advertising, then governments decided to start um, managing the definition. So we have all kinds of definitions for normal everyday words that our government uses for regulations. Now, before that, there were a whole lot of organizations that certified different foods as being organic, and federal government decided, like, whoa, we need to have some regulation on what that word can mean, because of course the nationwide giant companies, when people wanted organic, they wanted to label everything organic because that was what the public wanted. So the Department of Agriculture decided to define it. So now their plan is that they do an annual check on any kind of feeding operation, whether it's animal-based or plant-based, and they inspect to see what level of support is given to the soil in case of agricultural products, and in the feeding and treating the animals in the case of animal products. And they say, of course, on the website that they are trying to have it be as natural as possible, like for animals, no antibiotics and no GMO feeding and no injections of hormones, and being treated humanely in a more natural lifestyle, like the grazing animals are supposed to be pastured. And there's limits to how many animals can be in how tight a space, and not supposed to have those concentrated animal feeding enclaves. And then for the soil, you're supposed to rebuild the soil with materials that don't have contaminants, whether it's heavy metals or chemical waste or human waste. And it's supposed to be composted with real natural materials and not used pesticides or herbicides in growing the plants. Now, there being federal regulations, there's always exemptions and exceptions, but in general, the benefit of getting organic foods is that all those things that can contaminate your foods are minimized compared to typical conventional commercial foods. So people talk about, it's more expensive. Well, yes, of course, you're paying for fewer chemicals, fewer herbicides, pesticides, no genetically modified foods for your animals or in your plants. And if you read about what GMO is, it's not just, oh, let's fix the genetic code so that it's a healthier food and doesn't die from pests. There are at least 5 different chemical things that have to happen. And if you're a vegan, you don't want jellyfish remnants in your corn. And seriously, that's one of the things they use, jellyfish coloring, so that they can detect which has the GMO and which doesn't. So anyhow, you're paying for fewer chemicals, fewer contaminants, fewer heavy metals, no GMO, and it tastes so much better. You're paying for taste. You're paying for your body saying, whoa, I'm getting nourished instead of having something that looks like corn and feels like corn and it's colored like corn, but it really doesn't taste like it. I used to give classes to families about getting their children to eat vegetables. And so I would give the kids a taste of the organic vegetables and then a taste of the regular vegetables out of their supermarket. And the kids would look at their moms and say, why doesn't our food taste like this? So and my grandfather used to grow tomatoes. He liked the big boy variety that he bought from Burpee every spring, and his tomatoes, there's almost nothing that tastes like that unless you go to an organic garden and pick the tomato when it's already ripe on the vine. Now, so many of our foods are not ripe on the vine. They pick them beforehand and artificially mature them, but they don't taste as good and they don't have all the nutrients developed in them. And the coloring isn't as good, so they do other things to change the color. So organic food also may be matured much longer on the field. And in order so that they don't have to do all these after picking things to make it look and feel and store longer than it would if it was picked right from the field. So you're getting a more developed fruit. So no wonder it tastes better and looks better, but it has to be fresher. It's not going to last for 3 weeks on the store shelf. It might only last a week. So you're paying for that too, for fresher. So it's well worth it. And the more that we buy them, the more the price is going to come down because more and more farms are going to do it and the supply will be higher and the techniques will be more familiar. Another whole aspect of this is the hydroponic. And there's been all kinds of backs and forths. Is hydroponic, can it be organic? Well, it's like saying, to me, it's like saying somebody on an IV is healthy. You know, no. Plants are meant to grow in soil. And any organic farmer will tell you that the main idea of organic is to be sustainable, to renew your soil on a regular basis so that it can keep growing foods. And if you look at any traditional society, they have discovered how to renew the soil so that they can get crops year after year, or maybe they rotate, lay fallow for a year or two, and then put these, so the soil rebuilds, and then put their seeds back in that they want to create foods they can eat. So the way we are farming, we just use up all the nutrients at the beginning. That happened 40 years ago. And now we keep putting in artificial fertilizers and crops that don't have as much nutrition. Back in the 70s even, I had charts of spinach that has way less iron in it than when Popeye was eating it out of his can. So Popeye's back on Netflix, by the way. It's kind of fun. So do appreciate what organic means. And if we can really increase that public demand for organic, the conventional farmers are going, well, agribusinesses, I have to call them. They're not really farmers. They're just using huge machines to do everything except for the migrant workers to pick the stuff. And so they will be forced to go back to more reasonable ways of raising the plants and the animals if we demand it. So it's us. We have to demand it. We have to say, I want organic. I want to buy organic. I'm going to pay 10 or 15% more in my food budget to have safer, healthier food that will keep me healthier a whole much longer. And think of what you save on medical costs and over-the-counter remedies for for problems if you stay healthy, because you're not exposing yourself to a whole lot of dangerous chemicals. My father was a physician specializing in infertility, and he said the pesticides are designed to interfere with the reproductive organs of the pests so that they can't reproduce. He said that is going to affect humans over the next couple of generations. And lo and behold, it indeed has done that. We have many more reproductive problems in our species as humans than we did back in the 40s when he was practicing. So buy organic whenever you can. And in this time of trying to build our immune systems and stay healthy, it's more important than ever to keep your body nourished with the things that it recognizes, and it doesn't have to clean itself through the liver and the kidneys and the skin and the lungs with constant input of chemicals that are alien, at least, and easily dangerous, and accumulated can be toxic. So that's it about organic. Sorry, that's longer than normal, but it's a really important topic, because everything starts with what we put in our mouth. All right, take care.